Hey guys, sorry, my voice just went straight away. Welcome to Naturally Mads. I'm Mads, and you're welcome. Got nothing else. I just felt really cool to come on. I had like this light bulb moment because obviously I just uploaded this video yesterday that was just how done I was with everything. And it was a little out of character for me because I'm actually quite a private person, but I'm just done, so I don't care. I'm just gonna put it all out there. But what I found today in my doneness was like essentially giving up. Like I've just given up and I'm like, whatever. Today's my day with my daughter, so I'm just like hanging around with a 2-year-old. Anyway, and she picked up this book out of my bookshelf and was like, here, I want to read this. And ironically, so a little bit of backstory with me, I am a big bookworm, but I have this really particular way of going about it because some people have told me that I have to be ADHD. I'm not, but they think I am. And one of my things that would attribute to that is how I read books. So I read them when I'm called to them, when I feel like it. And if I lose interest or it's making me fall asleep a lot, I'll literally put it back in my bookshelf and just leave it until I'm called to it again, like until I feel like reading it. And I enjoy reading that way more. Sometimes I'll get a book and I just will never feel called to it. And then I had this one time, a friend of mine really wanted, it was a meditation book and I never read it. And she was like, oh, I feel really, I wish I had a book that could teach me this. And I was like, oh, actually, I have one. So I gifted it on. So sometimes that happens. I have books sitting there that I'm like, one day I might read it. One day someone might, want it and I'll think of it. But for some reason, they're in my bookshelf. Anyway, so, there's a lot of books that I'll read and I'll read the chapter and it's so relevant to my life at that point in time. And then I'd lose interest, but I'll pick it up again and then it's super relevant again. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what happened today. So the book my daughter picked up was The Power of Letting Go by John Perkins. I had read the first 4 parts of the book. I believe it's in parts. Years ago, a couple of years ago. And I knew I wanted to finish it. I knew it was something that I was like, I'll finish it one day. And I've sort of had it there and I kind of glance at it all the time. Anyway, it was nap time and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up this book. Surely it's going to be boring. It'll just put her straight to sleep. Like she's not going to want to read this. Lo and behold, she sat up and she listened to the entire thing. She scares me. She's just going to be a dynamite when she's older. Anyway, but ironically, the chapter that I happened to be up to was called Surrender and Tune into Something Far More Intelligent Than Your Brain. And I was like, oh, that's a coincidence. That's pretty much just where I'm at. It's just like, I give up. I'm just going to ride these waves, see where life takes me. And I pick up a book. It's about letting go of that control and how it's actually an illusion that we have any sort of control because we don't, we sort of do our best to direct ourselves down the journey, but we always get hit in the face with some sort of like challenge. Let's call them a challenge. Catalyst, the forks in the road, like my last video I was talking about. And I'm reading this book and it's really speaking to me and it just clicked. And that's the power of what I was talking about with the books. So for me, when I read something, if it's, literally making you fall asleep, I read at night just before bed. So my whole life, I always just put that up to, I'm just real tired and I need to go to sleep. Now I always actually, to further that, when I did try reading during the day, it would put me to sleep. And I'd be like, well, maybe I'm just not a reader. I'm not really into reading. I like short content. So I was always big on magazines and I could get through it. But then magazines started doing that. I'd be like, this is weird, right? Like, it's only a couple hundred words and I'm struggling. So I sort of stopped reading for a while. And then with this tactic, where I would read it and when it's really interesting and flowing, sometimes I do, I think it's called bibliomancy, which actually was the original tarot before tarot existed. But what they used to do was they would just open up a book to like random pages and let the information flow for whatever they were attributing to their life. So what I do is kind of a form of that, but you know, I don't really do it in that context. It's just, I'm not interested at the moment, so I'll chuck it down. And then when I happen to pick it up again, 9 times out of 10, this sort of thing happens, and it's super relevant and really helpful to my life at that point in time. So what the chapter's talking about is you do all these practices in the first half of the book where it's, you know, identifying all the things I have, you know, and cultivating this positive mindset about how you just get thrown challenges and what can you learn from them? How do you keep moving forward? Really healthy stuff. It's a great book. And then the final part, it's not a chapter, it's like in segments. The final part is talking about how when you just sort of give up that control, magic happens, right? And so even in just the small amount of today, like literally like 4 hours since I read this, not even, it feels like 4 hours. It's been like an hour and a half or 2 hours. My perception of time is just like crazy. Now I just, because I more or less go with the flow, but when something like is thrown at your face, it's hard, you know, and we keep seeing these setbacks. And that's definitely me and has been my journey and cultivating this healthy mindset. And then you're just like slapped in the face by life and you're like, oh, cool. Well, now I feel like all my progress is gone. And then you need these things and tools and reminders and healthy mindset to be like, nah, girl, you got this. You're gonna get, you're hitting your comeback. Like, don't worry. And that was what I kept pushing through. So I felt really called to just watch Letters to Juliet. And with what's going on in my life right now, the last thing I wanted to do was watch a rom-com where everyone's lovey-dovey and finding their true loves and crap. You know, that's like the last thing you want to do in a breakup, other than literally suffering and making yourself suffer with like a giant, what do people call it? A tub of ice cream. I'm too healthy for that. I've been suffering because I'm like, there's no chocolate in my house. God damn me for being so healthy. You know, so that's been my reality the last couple of days. I'm like, and so the last thing I wanted to do was watch that. And I have just denied this feeling for days now. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm going to push through, going to work on building my business. Healthy. I'm like, healthy. But I didn't feel called to doing yoga. I haven't felt called to doing meditation. Like everything I know is healthy, I just don't want to do. And then you feel like you're falling back into your old habits with just wanting to lounge on the couch and watch a movie. But the key point that I'm trying to say is that that's okay. And I couldn't shake it. So I just was like, I read this book and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a cup of tea and I'm going to watch the damn movie. And what I got from the movie was this completely different perspective. Because like the first time I watched it, you know, it was before, God, it was a long time ago actually. It was before I left the father of my children. It was absolutely before I split up with my fiance. But the whole storyline is about her leaving her fiance for a better life. And I was like, oh, and I had that perspective of it where it was like kind of validating because it's, you know, she didn't have this big, you know, she did it for love. And that's a nicer story than like my life where it's like you got to do it for security and stabilization of your family. It doesn't make a good Hollywood movie. It's probably more realistic. And honestly, personally, I'm glad there isn't like someone else in the picture because that just makes it messier and it's just not nice, you know. They don't show like the after, the happily ever after. Like In that movie, they absolutely don't show it, but I'm sure it was a bit messy. Because that's just life. I think there was a line in it, actually, the grandma says, life is the messy parts. And I was like, girl knows. She's spitting some truth. But yeah, I've always picked up pockets of wisdom in movies and like random things, because you see it from a different perspective. And when you sort of experience life that way, where you're like not putting pressure on yourself to get through the whole book. No, I got to read this next chapter because I'm in this book, so I gotta finish this one before I can get to the next one. And I used to try that, and I wouldn't absorb any of it. I just wouldn't. Like I couldn't recall what a lot of it was about. And same with movies. And like I'd have all these pockets of gold from like Anchorman. And the first like business I tried to start, I did it on Instagram, and I had all these reels, and one of my things was profound quotes and like inspiring quotes from movies. And I had like Beavis and Butthead and Anchorman just to like shock the system. You know, it's to like, guys, we can get this stuff from anywhere. It really doesn't need to be a guru somewhere in a mountain. Like it really doesn't. And I've struggled actually personally with being in the spiritual communities and stuff, because if you're not talking about how you want to escape modern society and you want to just go out and live in the country and have a homestead that's like completely off the grid, you don't fit in. You're like shunned. Oh, like my other favorite example was a friend of mine I met at the Wim Hof breathing weekend retreat, and he came over from the UK, and he was freshly in Australia, and he wanted to go to Byron Bay and experience like the hippies down there, because apparently they're world renowned. I mean, it makes sense. Chris Hemsworth lived down there, right? And like Zac Efron and Matt Damon have all moved over. Anyway, so he's gone, and he's like, oh, I found this drum circle. It was awesome, like on the beach. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. You know, how'd you go? Did you join in? Oh no, I just loved watching. And I was like, that's cool. Did they let you sit in there if you weren't drumming? And he was like, oh, I was sort of on the outskirts, like, you know, you're not really jumping in, having a red hot go. And I was like, oh yeah, was there any other instruments? He's like, no, not really. And I was like, yeah, you know, those drum circles, man, if you rock up with a saxophone, get the hell out of here. It's like, nah, that's not it, you know? And it was, I've always felt it is a judgment, honestly, because I don't know. I didn't have a bongo to participate. Like I'm into like a sick drum kit. I've got my Mapex downstairs. But if I rocked up with my whole Mapex drum kit, like I'm gonna look like a fool, right? Or the guitar circles, that's another one. There's always, on that Wim Hof weekend as well, there was always the guy with like, comes out with the acoustic guitar jamming. Anyway, it's just funny when they settle into like such a stereotype. But that's what I want to get. Hopefully whoever sees this, out of that mind space, like out of that stereotype, that like my whole existence, I feel, is to show people that you can be spiritual, or you can experience this journey of life in a healthy way that's very connected, that doesn't shun science, that doesn't shun anything, really. It's very supported by science these days, especially with quantum physics. And I find it hilarious that now there's this division between classical science or classical physics and quantum physics. And I'm like, guys, you literally use evidence from either side to like support the theories on either side. Anyway, I'm reading a book by Federico Fagan at the moment, and it's fascinating, but man, it's been a while since I actually did physics at university. So you get like Googling, and you like got to look up a whole bunch of stuff. So you need breathers, you need a break, because it's like heavy textbook, you know, after the first chapter. The first chapter is like this introduction back into physics, and, you know, it talks about QED theory and Einstein's series on quantum mechanics and introducing all of this stuff again. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember all that. Cool. And then you get to chapter 2 where it's his theory and you're like, oh man, I need like my Google sitting next to me to read this book. But it's a great book. And I'm so excited to keep going on that journey down like Federico Fagin's experience and thought process. And I get really excited about that. That's me as a person. I'm very much like, I love learning. So anyway, I just wanted to jump on. I felt really like I had to come on and tell whoever sees this, just in the sheer couple of not even hours, like hour and a half, 2 hours, how just going with the flow literally has just blown my perspective out of the water. And I'm like, oh man, like I was resisting that for so long and I didn't feel like I was resisting it. And my video yesterday about just being so done was like the release of me being like, I'm done resisting it. Like just tell me what to do. I'm hands in the air, surrender, and they call it surrendering. And that word I feel is triggering to some people as well in itself. And that's where I want to pull apart all those paradigms. I want to pull apart word use and labels and differences in languages and stuff, because it's not surrendering. It's you're just done. I don't know how, because everything that is a bit outside of myself, even the words coming to my mind is to put this like out of your awareness sort of perspective on it. It's like, well, it's really just going with the flow, riding the wave. Like you hop in a boat and you're kind of stranded and you just got to hope that a ship sees you and comes by and saves you. But you don't need saving, because maybe you got like a lifetime supply of food in this boat and you're like, oh man, I'm just so sick of this water. Where's land already? Sort of thing. So it's for a different perspective on things. Hope I can help with that. All right. I better go get some chores done. Love it. They don't go away. No, sir. Life just keeps lifing, guys. That's it. You can experience trauma. You can experience heartbreak. You can experience bliss. But do the chores ever go? No, they do not. All right. Have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.